The four most likely Golden Knights to be traded based on reports, cap concerns, and other variables. Ahead next on this WTF edition of Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day. I am a longtime sportscaster, a marketing consultant, and the host of Believe in Vegas, the new podcast on the Believe Network. And Chris is the owner of Silver State Cards and Sports and the collectibles editor of the Hockey News. Coming up today on the show, first segment, we'll talk about the four players that are in trade rumors that are swirling around. And the second segment, Stanley Cup Game 2, later on, WTF, What the Friday, in its triumphant return. We are brought to you today by Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you will receive 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. So the top four players, trade rumors, number one at the very top of the list, the top VGK player that's being targeted currently for a trade or a signing or what have you, is Nick Hague. And the Flyers are at the top of his list. They've expressed a lot of interest into the RFA, according to Elliot Friedman and some other reports that are out there. And right now, we'd have to believe, Chris, that Hague, his name has been out there the most. We believe that based on what VGK, what was also reported, Golden Knights are out there shopping Hague, that, again, this is something that will happen in all probability.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's a path to all four of the players in this segment. We'll hit them a little more individually, but it depends. I mean, you have to assume that if, starting with Marner Friday, we haven't brought him up enough lately. We got to get back in the algorithms to get the views back up a little bit. But Marner almost certainly means some combination of definitely Nick Hague. Nick Hague, I think, no matter what happens, I think Nick Hague will have a new home this offseason. Karlsson's name has been linked to Toronto's wish list should Mitch Marner a sign and trade of some sort sign and trade somehow come together. And then you got Barbashev out there. Barbashev's solid player. Like, we're not knocking the guy necessarily, but it just kind of seems like maybe that ship has sailed, and see what they can use that $5 million for, whether it's involved in a deal for Marner, whether it's bringing in some depth pieces, whether it's a Bennett, all these types of things like that. And then Tanner Pearson, I mean, he's certainly elevated his value based off of being unemployed the week before the NHL season started, and has a nice season with the Golden Knights, kind of a, utility Swiss Army knife type of player that played as much on the top line as he did the fourth line.
Unbelievable, right? And when you talk about Barbashev, the VGK needs to obviously shed some cap space. He's a valuable commodity. $5 million he makes, had 51 points this past season. I'm starting to feel, and I don't know, we could dig more into this on Marner Monday. To me, it's Marner or bust right now. I think it would be a big letdown if the Golden Knights do not land Mitch Marner. I know there's some other really good and talented players out there in free agency, which we could dig into. We have time here this month. But to me, it's pretty much Marner or never, the way that I'm starting to see it unfold. And when you get back to Barbashev, heavily linked to Carolina, perhaps, and Sportsnet's Nick Kyprios has said that both Barbashev and Hague are both on his offseason trade board. So the word circulating, I think it's a foregone conclusion to me that Hague's gone, but a really close second right now is Ivan Barbashev, the way that we're just starting to read Golick's tea leaves. Oh, God, I hate that expression. I did that for you.
Nothing is a foregone conclusion in Vegas, number one. Besides the fact that anything can possibly happen, but I would never lock in or lock on. There you go. I would never lock myself in on a foregone conclusion after watching Kelly McCrimmon cook for the last 8 seasons. Just when you think you might have an idea what's going to happen, something different happens. Now, same breath, last season was very predictable. Very predictable. I had a good offseason last year as far as predictions went, I guess, but I don't know if this offseason is going to be as predictable. There's definitely a path to some crazy deal involving Mitch Marner or simply free agency if it goes that long. Every day that goes by, Toronto loses a little bit of not their leverage, but their ability to control and get something back should Mitch Marner be traded. But there's also talks that him and the Leafs are possibly still trying to work out some type of situation to keep him in Toronto. But I think that ship feels like it has sailed. As far as everything else, I mean, you just never know. We could be completely surprised with some move out of left field. There could be a name that we haven't even talked about. All of a sudden, they're on their way out.
That's why we're trying to dig in as deep.
Yeah,
as
I mean,
we
I can't see
possibly can,
Pietrangelo
right?
or Hannafin or, I mean, Mark Stone. Like, I can't
No trade
see
clauses, I think, is the
the no
major
trade
sticking
clauses
point.
play a part, but that
Yeah.
simply means the player has to put their seal of approval on it. And depending on
What
the
are the odds?
circumstance, any player might do that.
What are the odds of getting Peyton Krebs back here in Vegas?
I mean,
hell,
if
for
only
a
if they want to
trade.
win a Stanley Cup.
William Karlsson and Tanner Pearson. A lot of trade rumors. As you mentioned, Karlsson to Toronto, perhaps in a proposed Marner deal, if that happens. And this week we did with AFP Analytics, we did talk about, shed some light, if you will, on why players want the lesser term now, if that's what's holding up a sign and trade for Marner. Karlsson to Toronto could be happening or in the works or what have you. Pearson, Colorado came up a couple of times in my stream, which I thought was interesting. I don't think there's any major basis, but a lot of the fan sites with the Avalanche are starting to talk about it. And again, VGK, but you're talking pennies for Pearson. Really not a lot of money, less than $1 million. And the Avs have only 1.2 million remaining in cap space when I looked at that last night. But they also have to sign 5 UFAs. So, as we know, they just signed Brock Nelson to what amounts to, Chris, a $7.5 million AAV deal and per year. And so that ate up a lot of their cap space. And so that's a team right now that really has to, as McCrimmon might say, cook the books.
They're going to have to moneyball it, definitely, kind of like what McCrimmon did in the offseason with the Vegas Golden Knights. And I could see Tanner Pearson going to UFA and seeing, because, I mean, what are the Golden Knights going to give him? $1 million for one season or something like that? Pearson might be able to cash in and say, hey, look what I did in Vegas. I was unemployed a week before the season, had a good season, and was healthy, was available the entire season, contributed on multiple lines. So, could there be a taker for 2 years at 1.5 million or 3 years, 3 years at 1.5 million per season, something like that? Because I don't see the Golden Knights looking at Pearson as a major piece. And, would you rather develop a Lavoie into that role or have it be a Tanner Pearson? And that's a decision that isn't just about the 2025-26 season, but it also plays in to beyond the 25-26 season. And that's where having a Lavoie becoming a daily player at this level can certainly help the Golden Knights long term. Maybe Lavoie, with his very low AAV, does what Pearson does, but has upside. Pearson, how much better is Pearson going to get next season? The answer is probably not much.
But he's a very good depth piece, as we saw.
He's a great depth piece, but he might want to get paid now. And I don't blame him.
And for him to get paid, it would be over $1 million, right? Because he was in the hundreds of thousands there for
yes,
a
give or
bridge
take,
deal of sorts. Yeah. So coming up next, we're going to have a preview of Game 2 of the Cup Finals. Does this series shift back to Florida at a game apiece? Do the Oilers sweep the first 2 home games? We'll get to that as we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? between dining out, parking fees here in Vegas. I had to throw that in there. Online shopping, entertainment, online shopping. I got to slow down there, bro, because it's getting out of control. I see something and I'm just purchasing stuff like crazy here. I even bought a pair of white pants. The guy that spills everything on his pants bought white pants this
Isn't it after
past
Labor
week.
Day or something?
It after Memorial Day,
Whatever.
and then you can't wear them after Labor Day. So that's your window there. But Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start to build wealth. That's right. And of course, instead of juggling all these apps that you might have, you can use Monarch to check out your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances today. You definitely have to do that by going to monarchmoney.com. Use that promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get 50% off of the first year. Again, 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick reported, Mr. White Pants. I don't even know. Like, do you own a pair of white pants? I spill everything. I have the napkin on my lap, but somehow that one little spot that's not covered, that's where the food lands.
I have a cream colored suit. I was interviewing Brad Garrett once, and he told me I looked like someone who should be running an ice cream store or something like that.
That's a good one. Okay, so back to the sports action.
Such
and
a terrible
the
one.
hockey.
He was so bad. Oh my god, he was nuts. But anyway,
Yeah.
another story for another time.
Another time, right? So Paul Maurice didn't seem to be overly concerned about his team's performance and their loss in Game 1 in Edmonton. He felt as though he could be in for a long series. In fact, he said it could be a spectacular 7-gamer. Should he have been concerned with the play of the Panthers? Again, I thought travel did them in. No excuses here, but we're going to see an electric game number 2, and that's why I want this series to go 6 games or a spectacular 7.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Paul Maurice been there, done that, right? Paul Maurice got to live both sides of the stratosphere, I guess, right? You got a 3-0 lead, starting to think about your victory speech and everything. I'm not saying he did that, but it's impossible not to look at what's right in front of you when you're up 3-0. It's impossible. And Maurice learned a valuable lesson that it doesn't matter what the series is. Anything can happen. Anything can change. Oilers were 2 goals away from winning the Stanley Cup last year, despite being down 3-0 to start the Stanley Cup Final. So that works both ways too. That definitely works in the Oilers' favor right now because they lived it, they saw it, so they came out a little bit desperate and hungry, and they had a bad moment of hockey that had the Oilers down 3-1, and then all of a sudden they pretty much, I won't say they owned the game, but they definitely took control down the stretch. You talked about Stuart Skinner, how long he went without giving up a goal in that game, and but again, Paul Maurice, he's not going to be phased. And again, he's going to say things to take the attention away from the players and give that headline. It's going to be a good 7-game series. I didn't hear it, but I'll go with what you said right there. He's not saying that.
7.
What's that?
A spectacular 7.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he's sitting up there putting this crazy prediction out there. He's simply saying things to keep the attention and the spotlight on him and away from the players, which is good leadership.
Yeah, it is good leadership. He's very poised there on the podium. The Panthers, by the way, have won 3 playoff series after losing Game 1 in each of the past 3 seasons. They did have a loss to VGK in Game 1, but of course, as we know, they did not come back to win that series. But it's an important game for the Panthers. You don't want to go home down 0-2. And one of the players that really was just in the middle there that I think needs to step up his game is Matthew Tkachuk. I expect more out of him in game number 2. I think that him and Kane are going to tangle eventually because they had some good hits on each other the other night. So I look for Tkachuk to play a bigger role.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see all sorts of different things. And I guess you wonder, number one, yes, Matty Tkachuk, he's going to immerse himself into the game. I'm not sure what word I'm looking for right there. But
immersed is a good one.
Yeah, no, he will definitely impose his will on the game. There's no doubt about that. And Tkachuk is the type of player that can take over a game. He's that perfect hybrid of grits, 100-point regular season type of player, Conn Smythe capable. I mean, everything the Golden Knights are missing, Tony. Everything the Golden Knights are missing right now, I guess. We can go back to that segment from yesterday or the day before, whenever we talked about that. On the other side, again, this is also where the adjustments happen. Do you see Knobloch keeping Draisaitl and McDavid separate? Does he bring them together? Does he kind of move them around throughout the game?
Yeah,
What does Paul
he'll
Maurice
move
do
them
to
around.
combat that?
Yeah, he'll move them around, and then they did a really good job, I thought, on Connor McDavid there. Florida clogging the middle there so that McDavid couldn't just go in front of the net. I thought they did a pretty good job there, but again, he has
He'll
2
find other ways to
assists.
burn you, Tony. He'll
He
find
was
he'll find a
sure
different way.
He sure will. And the great one Gretzky was saying between periods before he had his first assist, they're jamming up the middle. He needs to go around the net and create some magic, and boom, that's how he gets his first assist. And Edmonton had a 15-6 advantage there, Mr. Yonner, in high danger chances in
Coffee.
game one. And 3 of the 4 goals were scored on high danger chances. So they're going to have to keep the rest of the Edmonton players out of that paint area and what have you there. The Oilers are up 1-0. It's their first lead in a Cup series in 35 years. First time. That's pretty remarkable.
Canada's first lead or Edmonton's first lead? It could be the same answer. It could be the same answer.
Canada's first lead. It
could be the same answer. I mean,
could be.
And Edmonton handled that pressure well. I was concerned that, and there was a really great take. I don't know if it was Coolius or who it was on the AHL network, talked about the Oilers coming out, imposing their will on the game. There we go.
Yeah.
And then the legs get a little more tired because they use so much energy in the first 8 to 10 to 12 minutes of the game. And you know what? It was a great take. It was a great take. Florida turned that game around very, very quickly. But then the Oilers hung in and hung out, and the Oilers are never, ever going to be out of the game. Panthers aren't ever going to be out of the game either.
No.
But if you give me any team in the NHL to execute any level of a comeback, I'll take the one that has McDavid and Draisaitl all day long. And that's not anything against the Florida Panthers, but that's simply acknowledging the greatest player in the world and one of the other 3 greatest players in the world. I mean, if you were to rank McDavid and Draisaitl, they're both easily in the top 5, I would say. And Oilers got that depth working a little bit. They got their defense. Yes, no Zach Hyman, but they put up a 4 spot in game 1. So not that you didn't miss Hyman, but the results were still just fine.
Yeah, they were still the same there. And I am surprised at Edmonton's physicality throughout the playoffs and the way that they've turned the corner there. And that was one of the concerns.
They're tired of losing.
I get all that, but early in the game, they were just talking about the way that both teams, 51 hits apiece, were finishing a lot of their checks. I thought it was really physical, and I started to wonder, is this truly Edmonton's game? And they've turned that corner. And Knobloch said yesterday, he said that the 5-game thing, he said, thanks to VGK, he thanked them, of course, for losing, but no 5-game series for VGK and for Dallas helped to keep the Oilers healthy. And they had some time and some windows between those 2 series because they got through them quickly to go and refresh their bodies. I think that's a big point in this series.
No doubt. Stanley Cups are a battle of attrition, staying healthy. And again, Zach Hyman is out, obviously. And that's such, I mean, every time you play a game, you're exponentially increasing your injury risk, your fatigue risk, your fatigue risk that can lead to greater injury risk, and so on and so forth. And all of these things play in, from the littlest simple stick lift. I credit Barry. Good job, Barry. One of the players on our youth team. He did a simple little stick lift. We were down 4-0, and we got back to 4-3 by the second period. It was a crazy game, but a little stick lift creates a turnover, and boom, we had a goal, and we were back in the game. I know youth hockey and AHL hockey don't have a lot of parallels, but they do have a lot of parallels, and it's doing the littlest of little things right, and then all of a sudden something big happens, and that's what's preached every level of hockey.
Coming up next, we're going to have our WTF What the Friday comments. Stay with us right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back on this WTF edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Don't forget tomorrow in certain time zones. I don't know, just saying something there. The Chris Times Chris Jr. show that comes your way. And of course, we're going to keep you up to date. Marner Monday back on the way on Monday. Let's hope there's some Marner news to report on Monday as well. One other note that I had here on the napkin from the last segment was the health of Draisaitl. 2 goals last year. You may recall he was injured in the series. He had a hand and a rib injury at the same time, and he labored through that series against the Panthers a year ago. But now let's see if he can continue on his tear with a couple of goals in Game 1. WTF time. I don't know why the NHL will not move forward with expansion. As we heard this past week, Houston had the backing, at least from what I read, from a billionaire owner in Dan Friedkin. Tillman Fertitta is still there in the Houston area, wants more sports. He could have been involved there. The concern about having another Sunbelt team, this is what, after we heard that they don't want another team or teams for expansion, dug a little bit deeper. Part of the concern is being a Sunbelt team. I felt, that wasn't a good argument. Florida's flourishing when you look at Sunbelt teams. They consider Dallas to be a Sunbelt team. Hey, even VGK is a Sunbelt team. And so what the NHL wants, what they want right now are big market teams to dominate. Make no mistake, because look at the TV ratings. TV ratings down 31% in the playoffs on ESPN. On TNT, down 21% from a year ago. And I don't know what's missing, because this is a terrific, and it's going to be a spectacular 7-game series. I don't know why you wouldn't want to watch this series, because there are so many storylines. But again, in the days of the expanding cap there, you have to wonder what's going to happen in the future. Will the no tax zones, will those states continue to win championships? How do they get those major market teams back in the mix? But I think we need a 33rd and a 34th team for expansion to grow the game. And by the way, Houston is the number 6 media market. When you look on paper, if you were weighing between Las Vegas at the time and Houston, why wouldn't you take the number 6 media market? Atlanta is the number 7 media market. So I'm calling baloney on the NHL. They need to expand, and they better do it within the next couple of years. WTF.
I'm going to push back real quick. Expansion, yes, could be good. To grow the game and all of that, I don't agree with that statement. You have ESPN and TNT down partially because half their announcers can't pronounce a name properly. I mean, let's start the bidding there, or the audio is screwed up, or better yet, they have their team in Atlanta working a game that's in Colorado. So
Right.
how about ESPN and TNT put a little more effort into the greatest game in the world, and maybe it'll be marketed better, and that goes to the NHL as well. So that's my sub WTF right there.
Wow. All right.
This little tin right here, the cup, this is a new hockey release. It's $1,000, only 6 cards in a box in there, but it's just hockey is on fire. So that's just my business WTF right now. Hockey is mainstream. You got Ovechkin cards doing 20 grand all of a sudden. It's crazy time to be in the hockey world. So positive WTF there. But here's one Tony's gonna love right here. We got Lil Joe 31. Oh, Lil Joe 31. You're gonna get
Hey,
close.
Joe. That's my guy.
The problem is, this is with all the Marner stuff, we don't have the cap space just to add him. So what do we give up to acquire him? A sign and trade with W. Karlsson would be catastrophic.
It would be.
Shut up, Tony. I am not exaggerating. To me, Karlsson is the Knights franchise.
9 goals this past season, bro.
This dude, Lil Joe, you just lost everything in one statement. Karlsson is important. Karlsson is a good player. Fine, I've made my qualifying comments. Now the reality of Karlsson, he's not the 5th most important player on the franchise. He's not the fifth most important. He's behind Aiden Hill. He's behind Jack. He's behind Mark Stone. He's behind Shea Theodore. He's behind Alex Pietrangelo. To
What
call
about Hurdle?
Karlsson,
What about Hurdle?
To call Karlsson the Knights franchise is the most
Pistachios
asinine
going
thing
up.
I've read in the last 3 weeks. All right,
Pistachios going
WTF,
up.
Lil Joe, no, stop it.
Elliot Friedman on NHL Network says we have like a death watch.
Franchise is this guy?
We have a death watch of sorts. Friedman doesn't believe that Pete DeBoer is going to last through the weekend.
Tony loves that WTF. He's still chuckling over there.
Oh no, I was Pete DeBoer. So they have like he's on death row, I guess, right now. WTF is Tony still doing on the show? So
where did that one come from?
Is this your burner?
No.
Salty SJW tears. WTF, Clyde Matt. I remember in our first season when George called Pete DeBoer a dick, and he was right. No, he called him a clown. WTF, he called him a clown, right? Didn't he?
He called him a clown during I think it was game 5 or game 6 of that series. Something happened, and it was in the post-game presser. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone out there, but I feel like DeBoer was chirping like the Golden Knights players or something like that, it was brought up in the media scrum after the game in the presser, and he called him a clown or something like that.
He called him a clown. It was great. It was so salty, and it just was. It was probably the best podium quote of all time for the VGK.
It was definitely
for the VGK. I can't think of a better one. We've got from at Tyler Hillman 14. WTF is all this Marner talk. He's a perennial choker in the playoffs, and personally, I believe you can take the Leaf out of Toronto, but you can't take Toronto out of the Leaf. Besides, we'd have to lose quite a bit of depth to attain him, if I'm not mistaken. That's a really good WTF take right there.
I had a good one. I'm trying to find it, but the short version was someone said, if McDavid wins a Stanley Cup, I'm done being an NHL fan. Like your days are numbered, whether it happens in a week and a half from now or in the next 2 or 3 seasons. McDavid's winning a Stanley Cup, and anyone who wants to throw away their fandom card because the greatest player in the hockey universe wins a Stanley Cup, I don't understand why you're watching the game in the first place. And no one deserves a Stanley Cup. Like, this is something no one deserves success. It has to be earned, and he will earn it. He will not get a Stanley Cup because he's the best player in the world. He and the rest of his Edmonton Oilers or whatever team he's on down the line, I can't imagine it's not the Oilers. Although the Oilers have done crazier things in the past. That's WTF by itself, selling and trading Wayne Gretzky, that is. But WTF, if you can't handle the best player in the sport winning a championship, like, did people stop watching basketball because Michael Jordan won championships? I don't think so. So WTF on that one.
WTF from Yoda_Jenkins. WTF, no sick. Wink at the guy in the front row with the nachos, but don't toss the puck to him.
That's good.
That was really good. There's a lot of fireworks already in this series. I felt bad for Nosek. I really did.
Oh, who was it that laughed at him when he went off? I thought that was priceless.
Oh yeah,
there's video of a Florida player going right off the bench and laughing in his face after that happened, or an Edmonton player laughing in his face. And you know what? I'm okay for that. I'm okay with that. It's chirping. Get in his head. Quick WTF. I wrote about this not a long time ago, but it was the 22-23 offseason. And it was suggesting the Golden Knights make some type of push for Elias Pettersson. And you have Stevenson and Marchessault. And there would have been more, but Stevenson and Marchessault for Elias Pettersson. Man, how would that look now if that would have played out after the Golden Knights won their Stanley Cup? If Pettersson right now, heading into the 25-26 season, was wearing a VGK crest, because I got dragged to hell and back for writing that article. But you know what? Now that would look absolutely amazing with a 1-2 punch of Eichel and Elias Pettersson versus Eichel and Hurdle, or Eichel and anyone else for that matter.
Welcome to my world. I get dragged every freaking day. Welcome to my world, Colic. We appreciate everyone tuning in, especially our everydayers tuning in around the world. You've made us quite successful here on Lockdown Golden Knights. Whoa.
Paper toss.
Make the bucket. Did you make it?
Yeah, that's close.
Don't
Go
forget,
Philly.
Saturdays, Chris Times Chris Jr. Subscribe to our Lockdown Golden
I
Knights
go tomorrow.
YouTube channel. It's on fire. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy game number 2. We'll see you again Monday right here on Lockdown Golden Knights. And please take care.